It's time for Screen Junkies Movie Fights.
Oh, what in the world? Welcome to Movie Fights, hashtag Movie Fights Live, more like hashtag Movie Fights pre-recorded. Don't tweet that hashtag, I don't know what'll happen then. And gots to give a shout out to Owl Nation. Hoot, hoot, owls in the house. We have got a huge... Titanic. Oh, yeah, there's me and an owl. That is me and an owl. That happened. That is a thing that happened. Dreams do come true. That was an owl named Apple. Thank you, JTE, for pulling that off of my Instagram. Yeah.
Was jealous.
I mean, that was a mic drop on life for me. I mean, when I met that owl. But enough about owls. We're going to talk about the biggest movie, like, ever. Avengers Endgame. It is happening today. We have we're assembled and we're going to do it. First up, he comes in and rules the speed round. You know him from Collider Heroes, and you can see him coming up on Skybound. Welcome back to the party, JANDREAU.
Thanks so much, man. I love that we're doing Endgame stuff. Like, it has not worn down on me yet, and I love the movie was so good that I literally have not found too much. Like,
yeah.
We've got interviews with Jim Starlin, Brian Michael Bendis, and Rob Liefeld this week, and talking Endgame with people that like shaped comics was, I just can't get more. Give me more. Oh, yeah. And congratulations on manifesting an owl.
Thank you, thank you. I mean, yeah, it was on my vision board, and it happened. The secret works. Next up, he is one of the premier nerds, and he bears a striking resemblance to a certain doctor, Dr. Strange. Matt Key, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you. It's I don't know if you know this, but I'm an OG Gahooligan.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hoot, hoot. Yeah, you love the owls, the owls Gahool, one of Zack Snyder's finest. Thank you. Owls of Gahool, a little Zack Snyder joint. This gentleman, he's the host of the Nerd Goat podcast, and he was recently on Comedy Central doing a little stand-up on the new show, The New Negroes. Please welcome back to the party, Mr. Ed Greer.
Hey guys, it's great to be here. It's great to be here. These are qualified foes.
I'm excited because we're going to be arguing a lot of Marvel stuff, and we got three premier comic book minds. I'm very excited for this threesome. And deciding the arguments, weighing in on everything, we have Dan Murrell, Lon Harris, a.k.a. Murrell. The magic of Murrell.
There you go. I like it. Yeah, that nickname was teased to us before the show, but we weren't allowed to hear it until now. It's a live reveal.
Dan, you are a box office savant. Did Endgame exceed expectations?
A little bit, Hal.
A little bit.
It shattered not just the records, it shattered expectations. Going into last weekend, there was talk about if it could break 300 and how amazing that would be if it broke 300 million domestically, and it did 357. So it's crazy. I was just telling Lon, looking at even at the record, it had records like the third highest Tuesday and like the second highest Monday. But if you look at the record books, it's the only time any movie's ever done that that's not Christmas or the summer. So it's almost setting daily records at this point on April and May working days.
Damn.
It's crazy. It's insanity. All bets are off.
Yeah, call in sick. Go back and see it again.
That's what people are doing. People are seeing it multiple times. It's the only way that you can get these kind of numbers.
Right on. So, Lon, we do not have someone on there is no social today.
No.
There's no poll since we are pre-recorded.
I'm not listening to you.
So, yeah, what are you doing over there? Just
just gonna hang. Just chilling. Just maxing and relaxing.
Yeah, do you want some snacks or something?
That would be wonderful.
But but you will be breaking all ties. You know what? We'll just the three of us will be judging each and every round.
We'll figure it out.
All right? Yeah, we'll figure it out. Once again, figuring it out as we go along. So again, we have 3 fighters. First one to 4 points wins. The top 2 scorers after the first 3 rounds will head to the speed round, where it's anybody's game. You can be down big, and you can make a furious comeback in the speed round. You guys ready for the good times?
Let's do it.
Please, JT, drop that sick-ass package.
Prepare to die. Ladies and gentlemen,
It's main event time.
Where is that? Is that an owl cafe?
It's an owl cafe in Tokyo. I was in Tokyo last week.
That's what I was gonna.
Yeah,
like,
for
'cause my wife and I visited an owl cafe in Tokyo, and I wondered about if it was like
You
maybe
said
the
that
same
so
one.
casually and had to have happened. Like, was that an owl cafe in Tokyo?
Yeah, it was an owl cafe.
You are an OG Gahooligan.
I'm telling you, man.
All right. So, once again, thank you, Thor. So, with this question, I don't know how let's just stop. Let's just call it a day. You know what? We're going to do it. This is a very difficult question. What is the best scene from Avengers Endgame? Wow, how do you answer this? But these gentlemen will endeavor to do that. What is the best scene from Avengers Endgame? First up, Koi
We
Jandreau.
should give a spoiler. I guess. Are we giving a spoiler?
Yes, oh, sorry,
Yeah,
yes.
we should give a spoiler warning.
Great point, Dan Murrell. Spoilers, dead ahead. So yeah,
Spoilers.
if you
Lots.
haven't,
Yeah, we're gonna ruin
It's
this
a
movie.
blanket spoiler.
The
warning.
whole show. I
Yeah.
can't.
What is the
show.
best scene?
You've seen the end of Infinity War.
yeah, we could not answer these questions without spoilers.
Hulk pancakes.
we will be speaking freely here. So if you know what, run out, watch Endgame. If you haven't seen it, come back, watch us. Otherwise, stick around.
Quit your job and go watch it.
Yes, quit your job and go drop
That's
out
why
of
it's
school.
pre-recorded. You can pause. You're safe. It's not live. Go live your life. Go
Yes.
3 hours later, come on back. All right, so in my opinion, the best scene of Avengers Endgame was the only scene that had a universal response in all 3 of the screenings I've went to. It is the only scene that, as you've reached this crazy climax of effectively a 5.5-hour movie, after Infinity War, the bar is set. These movies tie in so beautifully together. It's not quite a part 1 and part 2, but man, it's a way to watch it. There is a scene in this movie that doesn't feel like a letdown as you've reached this insane Everest climax, and that is, of course, Cap wielding Mjolnir. We have waited years for this moment. We have been baited with this moment. We have had ideas of this moment. It is a moment that is so ripe from the comics that it can only exist in a universe that is Marvel. The reason this is the best scene in Avengers Endgame is it isn't just a scene with 1 movie of buildup, 2 movies of buildup, Infinity War to Endgame of buildup. It is a movie of 9 movies of buildup. It took the Cap movies, the Thor movies, and the Avengers movies to get to the point where that would matter that much. And we were misled into thinking Mjolnir was gone forever with Thor Ragnarok because it was destroyed. So we were like, oh, we'll never get to see that moment. Oh, no. We get to see that moment because it's 2014's Mjolnir, which means so many things had to lead to this moment. And that moment in the theater with a half-broken shield, Mjolnir, and it's Cap at his absolute finest. What Cap represents is one man standing against absolute crushing odds. And it's Cap with 2 weapons facing off against Thanos and an entire army. And that speaks to who Cap is. He can do this all day. He will always get back up. And that moment embodies exactly who Cap is after all these movies, and it's the most comic deep cut you could possibly imagine. And the fact that we're at a point in society, everyone is standing up and cheering because of Mjolnir means we've done it. So it's a victory lap. It is the best moment in Endgame.
All right, Koi loves him some Cap and Mjolnir. Matt Key.
A lot of the points that Koi made are valid points for that scene, but I think that they play even stronger to the one I chose, and that is when you get Cap, and he is broken shield. It's close to the same moment, but he's broken shield, and you get that far off shot, that sort of like wide IMAX beautiful beauty shot, and it's Cap, broken shield, Thanos's armies, Cap's allies, we don't know where they're at. Like 2 of them have been beaten, most of them are under rubble, and the rest of them, maybe they've come back from the Hulk snap. We don't know. We can presume that probably they have, since Laura Barton was calling her husband. But it's at that moment you're like, oh, he's by himself. That is the quintessential Captain America. Him, no matter how badly he's beaten down, he stands up. And he stands up against unbeatable odds, and he always does it. And he sits there, and you get this moment of like almost he is faithful that even if I lose, I've got to do this. Like even if I go on to a death that's going to be terrible and painful, I have to do this. And then you get that moment of Cap, can you hear me? It's Sam on your left. And you hear a slight flicker. So you know Sam is there, and then you see the flicker, and you know Doctor Strange is coming. And then all the portals start to open. And yes, I'm a Doctor Strange fan. I know that plays into it. You guys can sue yourselves. But the moment that that is all lead up to this moment where you see Thanos kind of a little taken aback, and you see all the armies, like you see Wakanda coming through, you see Asgard coming through, you see the Masters of the Mystic Arts all coming through. They're all getting ready. Then you see Valkyrie come flying through. Just like, it's this moment of, oh my God, not only are they all back, but they're all here. And then you get Steve saying, Avengers, assemble. Now, you want to talk about lead up. We've been waiting for Avengers Assemble since the first movie, since the first Avengers. We've been waiting for that since Iron Man meets Nick Fury at the end of his movie, where he says, "You ever heard of the Avengers Initiative? Oh shit, we're gonna get some Avengers Assemble." You know, and that finally happens, and the very last thing, and like the movies earned that. They absolutely earned that moment where. They could have done that at the end of Age of Ultron, but instead they teased it. They could have done it in any other movie, and they didn't. What they earned by waiting is that when he says Avengers Assemble, it's not just Hawkeye and Black Widow and Iron Man. It's the armies of Wakanda. It's the armies of the Masters of the Mystic Arts. It's Asgardians. It's every single hero that they've ever fought with. They're all Avengers. And I feel like not only did they earn that moment, they superseded that moment, and they made it a much broader sort of, if you fight evil, if you fight wrong, if you stand with us, you are an Avenger. And that to me is well worth the 10 years and the 22 films that we've invested in this. That moment to me encapsulated the entire franchise.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Avengers Assemble. Ed.
I picked my moment because it takes these guys' moments into consideration. My moment is Captain America finally getting his happy ending with Peggy. And it is in the same way that these guys are talking about a culmination of a long, you talk about a long time coming. Mm-hmm. You talk about a long time coming. Mm-hmm. My man's about to lose his virginity at 95. Okay? We talk about a long time coming, boy. You know, he
fact check that down, please.
This guy, I mean, this guy has been denied due to cosmic circumstance of Sisyphusian proportions.
Wow.
You know what I mean? He's been denied an actual life. And it wasn't because, you know, he could have gone and had a life. He literally could not have gone and had a life. So this is, after all this battle and after all these sacrifices, getting your shield beat to hell by a giant propeller blade, you know what I mean, standing against everybody. I agree with you guys' moments, and I love the fact that this battle is already starting off respectful, you know what I mean, because I love you guys' moments, but I just feel as though they feed into mine, because it is and it is actually climactic. People say it's a sort of an anticlimax, it's after the climax. I disagree, because the movie isn't over until Cap sets all the stones back, and they're waiting on him to do this job for them. Once again, sacrifice yourself for us, Cap. Once again, sacrifice yourself for us, Cap. You're the good guy. You're the Boy Scout. And he goes, you know what? Boy Scout need to eat some Girl Scout cookies. You know what I mean? I need to go ahead and have me a life and an existence that doesn't have everything all in the balance. I did my job, and now I get to live. And I just think it's the culmination, in the same way that the Iron Man snap is the culmination of overarching protective nature. I think Captain America literally rolls around with a shield. We talk all day about Iron Man and everybody else with this protectiveness. The man's weapon is a shield. You know what I mean? He is protected. He protected the multiverse with his actions. And he deserves a little R&R. Or P&R, Peggy and Resuscitation, or whatever. He deserves it. And I think he's earned it through all the moments you guys have talked about. He earned it through his participation in those. And that is why I think it is truly the greatest moment.
All right, Cap and Peggy. Very Cap-centric. Fight it out, you guys.
So my perspective on it is that both of these moments, as you're absolutely correct, like that moment made me cry harder than any other moment, made my wife cry. Fantastic moment. One of the ones that I considered when asked this question, same with Mjolnir. The moment that I'm choosing, for me, best represents Avengers Endgame. Because that moment is the Mjolnir moment is a Captain America moment. And it's a fantastic moment. There's no denying how fantastic it is, but it's a Cap-centric moment. And it's the same with Peggy. Again, fantastic moment. There's no taking that away, but it's a Cap-centric moment. The argument that I'm making is the moment, yes, Cap is at the center of this moment as well, so it's hard to make the argument, but this supersedes Captain. This is about the Avengers. This is about everyone assembling. This is about everyone coming together to fight this common threat and doing so together and following this one man.
So I misinterpreted your moment when I first heard it. So it's the entire Avengers Assemble moment, which I think is a very beautiful moment. It's very powerful. It has been led to for a very long time. But if we're going to extend a few minutes to not just that flash, I'm going to extend my Mjolnir grab to the actual fight. So if in talking about that entire scene, which is, I'm going to say the moment, you have the big three. You've got the Avengers that started it all. You've got the Avengers with the most legacy. You've got the only three Avengers with trilogies. And to me, Endgame was about ending their stories. We know Doctor Strange gets a sequel. We know Black Panther gets a sequel. We know Spider-Man gets a sequel. That Avengers Assemble was the first time we had Assemble, but this Endgame is called Endgame. It is the end of the trilogy. It is the end of Big Three. It is the end of the three that are fighting, and the Mjolnir moment can only happen because of the way these movies have all set up to it. You can have a team-up movie, you can have a team-up moment like we did in Avengers. We can have like we did in Age of Ultron. The opening of Age of Ultron is that amazing splash page, but you can't have a moment as powerful as Cap winning Mjolnir until Mjolnir's been destroyed, until we've earned that Mjolnir moment, until Avengers Infinity War had that lightning strike moment. I was wondering the entire time how they're going to top him landing with Groot with that crazy lightning. Like, when that fight was building up, I'm like, how are they going to have a Thor moment? Oh, wait, let's have a Thor Cap Iron Man moment and have the holy trinity of the Marvel Universe fighting Thanos. To me, the biggest moment in this is, because it's the end, giving them a just ending. What Endgame did beautifully was somehow send off all three of our heroes in beautiful ways. I love the send-off with Cap, but to me, that can be done in a 2-hour movie. That exact thing could be a time travel. It's The Notebook with time travel.
I must rebut. We must improve our bust. I must rebut, because in the exact same way that it took 22 movies for us to get from I Am Iron Man to I Am Iron Man. It took the same movies, roughly,
approximate, sure.
The same amount of time for us to get to this moment with Cap. And I do believe it is an overall Avengers moment because, again, he is the first Avenger. Other retconning aside, he is the first Avenger. He is the person who inspired the Marvel Universe in the same way that Superman inspired the rest of the DC Universe in this way that they're interpreting the MCU. So that being the case, we must, at all Avenger stories, go through Captain America, in my personal opinion. That's why we're having such, even now, a Cap-centric conversation. So I would discount the fact that mine is a sole Cap moment, because you guys have a little bit more team involved, because if we're going to do, extended sequences, you know what I mean? I for moments, mine is indeed a moment. And it is a moment for us to take in that overall, the soldiering and sacrifice, he has finally gotten a reward. He didn't mess anything up. He's figured out the time paradox of where he can do what he needs to do and get a shield to pass on to Sam, which is just like, oh, tears, even though I really don't want that to happen on a lot of levels. I don't need a human throwing that big vibranium frisbee around. I need some cat muscles. But the bottom line is, what I'm saying is, I believe my moment does encompass all the Avengers because, again, Cap is the first Avenger, and this is finally his just reward. And as you stated, they perfectly dispatched the three movie stars who were just like, I want to go do plays in the park for a minute. They dispatched those perfectly.
All right, let's shift gears here and move to our final thoughts. Let us know why yours reigns above the other two. And again, it's the best scene from Avengers Endgame. Just getting into the semantics with moment, scene. There we go. Coy.
So I'm going to reiterate my Endgame being the end of things. I feel that the Cap Peggy moment, if that had been a deleted scene from Winter Soldier, it still would have been impactful because of how much you love Cap and Peggy, who have just shipped, as much as we've loved them from the beginning. That scene could have existed earlier and been just as impactful. I do appreciate the fact it took 22 movies, but that scene was a beautiful scene, and this is a movie for all ages. Kids from 5 to 95 went and saw Endgame. I guarantee kids that saw that Cap moment weren't as entertained as they were with Mjolnir wielded by Cap. That is the moment for all ages. That is a universal moment. That is the loudest cheer. That is action, storytelling, plot device, comic book moments. It literally, when you go to see Avengers, you want Easter eggs. You want story to be told in a creative way. You want beautiful action and choreography. You want masterful directing. You want good acting. All of that is in the Mjolnir scene because you know Cap's ready and Cap wields it as good, if not better, than Thor. And that encapsulates all of those stories into one. So to me, that is more of a scene that's for Endgame. Plus, it's the end of Cap as a soldier. Your movie is a denouement. It's a button. So I think this, for all ages, is the scene. For me, I love the Avengers Assemble moment. If that had happened in Age of Ultron, it wouldn't have had quite the impact, but it would have been been a really cool moment. And for me, the giant swath of emotion that we got from seeing all that was almost so much that the scene was, it became disjointed. It became this moment of chaos with the assemble. And you could have different opinions about how the actual Avengers assemble was said, whereas no one's going to argue what the importance of Cap wielding Mjolnir was, especially as it turned into a Stormbreaker Mjolnir switch off. Like everything it led to, there was comedy, there was action, there was storytelling, whereas this scene was just action, which led to more storytelling, but it's not the encapsulation of Avengers that Endgame that this scene was.
Thanks, Coy. Matt?
If I may, I feel like you're missing a bit of the point of what I'm trying to convey with why I feel like this scene is the top scene. It's not just a cool moment. It's very much not just a cool moment. I would actually make the counter argument that Mjolnir is a cool moment. It's a very cool moment. It's a cheer out loud moment. Avengers Assemble, after they've been gone, we've waited a year to find out how are they coming back, where are they coming from. We've been waiting since 2012 to find out how they're going to defeat Thanos. We've been waiting since Iron Man to find out, well, who are all the Avengers going to be, and how are they going to assemble, and who's going to fucking say Avengers Assemble? Because that's one of the that's on the cover of Avengers #4. Captain America's coming back. He's like, Avengers Assemble. It's from the very beginning, Avengers Assemble. And Marvel held back. They earned that moment. And they chose a very specific moment. And that moment was more than just the Avengers assembling. Because in Steve's heart, it is more than just the Avengers. It is more than just that core team. They're leading an army of just humans and these godlike beings and these sorcerers, and all of them are Avengers. And I think that is that speaks so well of what this movie accomplished. It said, you know what, M'Baku, you're an Avenger. Okoye, you're an Avenger. I just said Avengers Assemble and you're here. Valkyrie, what's up? You're an Avenger. And we know that they've had moments in the comics where they have been this or that or whatever, but in this movie, for them to have an entire army of thousands of heroes behind them and soldiers and all this other stuff, for Steve to choose that moment, for Marvel Studios to choose that moment, for them to finally say this one thing that please stick, Avengers, no, not Age of Ultron, no, say it, I wanted to hear it. For them to choose this moment to say Avengers Assemble means so much. Just almost talking about it is making me teary-eyed, because it's just it's amazing. It's amazing that they said, we the Earth, we are the protective net that Tony wanted. We are the Avengers. All of us are the Avengers, and we're all going to take this asshole down. And that, to me, is why that's the best scene. And I feel like the entire franchise was leading to that moment, and everything after that was denouement.
Thank you, Matt. Ed.
Okay, look, man, I don't want to filibuster too long here, man.
Sorry, I talked a long time.
No, I'm not doing anything passive aggressive, dude. No. I'm saying, I just want to reiterate, my moment is not just a Cap moment. It is the encapsulation of the entire, from the time he went in that ice to the time he came and got this life. That is the span of the Avengers. And so an ending Cap moment is an ending Avengers moment. And you guys, as far as a fanfic, if you put 1,000 fanfic monkeys at 1,000 typewriters, and they all typed, 500 of those scripts would come out with the Mjolnir moment, and the other half would come out with your moment, because we knew all the heroes were coming back. We know on some level with the wobble and stuff like that, there are these fan service moments that are beautiful. And I'm not saying fan service as a pejorative. I am saying, though, I don't think, if you said 1,000 monkeys at 1,000 typewriters, that they would have come up with, it's going to be real satisfying to see Cap as a little old man sitting on a thing, handing his shield off, doing all this, abdicating and being a little selfish. Mm-hmm. I don't think if you said 1,000 of these fanfic monkeys at 1,000 typewriters, they would have come up with that. And that's the beauty of it. That is the beauty of how fantastic the screenwriting is in this movie. It's right up there with 5 years later, in my personal opinion, as these very personal, intelligent screenwriting choices that are not fanfic, that are not fan service. So for a moment to be that satisfying, with no element of bring back all of our toys that were broken in the last movie, with no element of, ooh, look at this comic book you read, with just the story from the MCU universe of this 95-year-old virgin finally getting to have what everyone else has, what all of his buddies who came back from war had. You come back from war with one leg. You still got your wife. You still get to go, do your thing. He didn't even have that. So I just feel like the accomplishing of giving Captain America a life after service was just beautiful. He can finally, and I bet you when he sleeps in that bed with Peggy, it doesn't feel like a marshmallow. It feels like home. And I just really think it's great that he earned that throughout the course of these movies.
Time, wow, man, what a recap of those 3 scenes. A recap of Cap.
A Cap recap?
Yes, a Cap recap. And by the way, if you had 1,000 monkeys in a room with 1,000 typewriters, one more thing would be true. There'd be a lot of shit on the floor. Okay.
Animate that. I want to see that animated. That scene just happened, please.
Dan Murrell, where are we? Facts Zone.
Fact Zone, Matt, as of course it isn't going to be in this fight, I have a very useless job because all of these guys know what they're talking about. But Matt, you said that Nick Fury said, have you ever heard about the Avengers Initiative? Technically the line is, I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. This is the kind of nitpicking I have to do in a fight like that.
Or the internet will do it for you.
Ed, you mentioned Cap being the 98-year-old virgin. Going by the MCU birth date of Captain America, which has been established as July 4th, 1918, and accounting for the 5-year time gap, which would put us at 2023 at the end of Captain America. At the end of Avengers Endgame, he would have been, depending on the time of year, either the 104 or 105-year-old virgin.
So that just helps you out.
Just make it easier.
Again, these are the things that I have to do in this kind of a fight. Captain America in the comics first wielded Mjolnir briefly in Thor number 390 back in 1988, at a time when he had resigned the Captain America title. He was known as the Captain, but he just sort of picked it up, and kind of like Vision, he just sort of picked it up and handed it back. And then he's wielded it a couple of other times in various other comics, but that was the first time. And we are not live, but I can much like Endgame, I hear echoes from the future yelling, I am Iron Man at all of us from the future to right now in the past.
I was very surprised. Also, Ant-Man's taco. I was amazed Ant-Man's taco.
I thought about that. I did think about Ant-Man's taco.
That is
We can show
America's
Hulk in that
ass.
suit.
Yeah, America's ass. Oh,
And then, strangely, the moment that stuck with me the most heartbreaking moment of the movie for me, because I'm weird, which is, I'll get you all the cheeseburgers you want.
Oh, no, that killed me too.
Yeah.
That killed me.
Yeah, that killed me.
But the one thing that I hear through the quantum realm is the internet screaming in one voice, I am Iron Man, and why was that not included? I have no answer for you. I'm in the past. What can I do?
Yeah. Get those Infinity Stones and talk to us after.
Exactly.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, you guys really took me back just like to vivid moments sitting in the theater with your eloquent descriptions of the feelings that your scenes engendered within you. So kudos to all of you. This was a delight to listen to and just relive. At the end of the day, it's a tough decision because you all pick great scenes. It came down to this. I think you typified my kind of framework on what Ed was saying, and as much as the Notebook with time travel, it was a beautiful moment, but to me, it didn't resonate as the best scene. It came down between the two of you. Your scene, the Mjolnir moment, I was like, wow. Your scene, I was like, whoa. And I think you summed it up nicely. So, I mean, it's tough to choose, but I gotta go with Matt. Dan.
Yeah, well argued all around. I think for me, it also came down to Coy and Matt. Ed, I think your closing argument about the fan fiction angle, sort of, I jumped off board a little bit because I disagree a little bit. I do think that Cap and Peggy getting together was something that a lot of fans had theorized and talked about. I just, in the context of all the rest of the arguments, I couldn't really latch onto that. So it was between Coy and Matt for me. And I agree with you, Hal. I think for me it was the distinction between this is a great moment in the battle, this is a great moment for the character, versus this is a moment that the MCU had withheld for years. It was the culmination not just of this film, but of the films that came before it, a payoff from movies that had happened many, many, many years before. So Matt also won me over.
Right on. Thank you, Dan. Matt, you get the point. Lon, any thoughts on that? Any fake internet comments you want to make?
Everybody loves corgis.
You're not wrong.
Shout out to the great Danielle Radford.
No, I think I agree with what you guys were all saying. All three great arguments. And yeah, I thought Matt did a great job of saying. I liked how his argument was not just that we've been waiting to see the Avengers assemble moment, but that it was so broadly applied. All of our favorite heroes are Avengers together, and so yeah, I agree. I thought Matt did a great job.
Yeah.
Right on. But a great round indeed. Let's head to round number 2. So.
I'll lose the rest of these.
Dude, I love that movie so much. Just this talk, I was like, in that scene, let me play that back. Let me play that back.
Hell yeah! I was there was
No,
play,
and
it was
like both of
playing
your
in my
scenes,
head.
like I also considered. I was like, well, the Peggy and the
Howard and Tony was my
like,
second scene. That was my second draft pick.
Mine
Howard
too.
and Tony, yeah.
Mine
Oh
too.
man, that was so good.
I mean, too many good scenes to choose from. This is
Right.
real Sophie's choice. So, question numero dos. Matt Key is up 1-0. Now that Thanos has been snapped away, who should be the next MCU big bad? Now that Thanos has been turned to dust in the wind, who should be the big bad? Question number 2. We'll start with player number 2, Matt.
All right. I'm going to take a very different tactic here. I feel like we have seen tremendous villains. Like we've seen Loki, which made a lot of sense for him to be the first villain since he was for the MCU, since he was the first villain for the Avengers. We saw Ultron. Say what you will about the movie or the villain or Spade or whoever else. We've seen it. We've seen them fight drones. We've seen them fight a Chitauri army. We've seen them fight each other in a movie. But we've never seen them have to fight just one of their own, and that's why I'm saying Scarlet Witch. I think Scarlet Witch could be the next big bad that could take up at least a couple of movies. And I'm building all of this off of the House of M storyline from I think mid 2000s, 2004, 2005. Dan will fact check me and tell me I'm wrong somewhere. But House of M is one of my favorite storylines, and it is because the Avengers are confronted with the question of what do we do with one of our own? Like how do we fight one of our own? How do we fight someone who we love, who we care about, but someone who essentially has in the comic books at least, has the power of the Reality Stone within her. Like she can control probabilities to such an extent that she can create a new reality, and that's what she does with House of M. So I think that maybe we see a movie where she is starting to, like the past experiences of losing her brother, being experimented on, maybe the Infinity Stones that were used to experiment on her are starting to kind of get to her, like kind of play with her brain. I kind of want to stay away from that, the women are hysterical kind of angle. So like I'm trying to kind of keep around that, but because that would be something that they would need to address. But I think that she is becoming essentially unhinged due to the life that she's had, due to the experience she's had, very similar to Iron Man and Iron Man 3, where he's like, all I've got is a suit of armor. All these other guys are heroes. I think she's starting to become unhinged. And I think in an effort to keep the world safe, she decides to change the world for the better. And I think she says, instead of no more mutants, I think she says mutants, or she says something like that, where she creates this sort of genetic trigger in humanity to protect the planet all by themselves. So she essentially says, Tony was right, we do need a protective net, the universe is coming for us, so why don't I just change the entire world to reflect that, and all of us are now heroes. And she creates essentially the X-Men, X-Force, like she doesn't create the teams, but she creates the mutants that go on to create the teams. But that creates an alternate reality. House of M, we can get a couple movies out of that maybe. But I could have chosen Kang, but we've had time travel stuff, and that's fun. But we've done that now. We've had big giant faceless armies, but now it's not a faceless army. Now it's Scarlet Witch. Now there's not like a thriller element, but like how do we deal with this? Like we don't know, how do we fight our own? Like she's not necessarily coming to kill us, but we also can't. She's so powerful that we can't change her, and we can't unless we kill her, but we don't want to kill her either. So I think that creates like a lot of moral ambiguity and asks a lot of moral questions. And I think that the MCU has matured to a place where they don't want to fight like just a drone army, or just like this other army, or just like technology or whatever else. I think we need to see that depth of character of, how do we fight?
This is great. You've laid a great foundation.
Sorry, I talk
here.
a lot. I'm sorry. Don't mean to filibuster.
No, not at all. This is a fascinating first answer. Matt, thank you, and we'll hear more from you in a moment. Ed.
Okay, I have similar thoughts to Matt in regards to I've seen a lot of drone armies that can be turned off when you beat up a mothership. I've seen a lot of,
You made me spit take.
I've seen a lot of this whole jazz about even fighting each other, though. We've seen a lot of this jazz about fighting each other. And some of the best moments actually in these movies are examples of superheroes fighting other superheroes because of the cross matches and powers and different stuff like that. And we got a little taste on the tarmac scene, but we really haven't seen that since. It's been more or less the Avengers fighting much like the X-Men tend to fight, which is big bad in a central panel. They're rushing at them from all angles, getting smacked up. And I just don't know that that's the Avengers bag, man. I think the Avengers are bigger than that, bro. I don't think that they should be all fighting one dude. So I think the next big bad, I think we should go away from this central villain and go to a team. Because, and I think the team would be the Squadron Supreme. Now, obviously, throughout Marvel's history, the Squadron Supreme have been alternately a joke or a play on DC's Justice League to sort of rib the distinguished competition, as it were. But there's so much more to the depictions of the characters. They actually come a lot of times from an Earth called 7112 or alternately Earth 31916. They come from all these different alt worlds. Or what I'm saying is, with all the incursions and all this jazz that the Avengers have been doing, I think that there has been a ripple throughout space-time. And I think there are worlds out there that have been affected by some of the stuff the Avengers have capriciously done by marching through time and space. Now, if you're a team of superheroes on a dying world or a world that just died because of something Captain America did to get a shield or to go get some proto lambskin for Peggy or something, you know what I mean? You all of a sudden your world is dead because of something weird like that. All of a sudden you have a team of super powered beings, people who are more like the DC heroes, way overpowered, very like the Hyperion is like Superman, Nighthawk is like Batman, Dr. Spectrum is like a Green Lantern, Zarda the Power Princess is very much like Wonder Woman, and so on and so forth. They have speed characters, they have all sorts of characters. And given the Marvel's usage of oft maligned characters, they could bring Count Nefaria, Graviton, Inertia, all these super powerful people that used to fight all the Avengers. What if they all clicked up and have a holy mission to kill these villains from the 616 who have ruined their world? I think that's a titanic fight, guys. And I think it's one of those things where we could see interesting cross matches and powers, interesting like super battles. Maybe they have to take it off world. Maybe we get people like, you know what I mean? All these different ways that they're protecting the Earth from these super gods that are coming to beat them up. Maybe they have to take that fight off world. Maybe we get the Beyonder, all this weird stuff. But the bottom line is, I would love to see the Avengers fight somebody who is not a faceless drone army, an actual super team. How would they fight? All the movies are about them massing around till they get together to form a team to beat some central person. What about a better team than you? The Hoosiers of superhero-dom coming to your gym and they're about to play some basketball. And your fundamentals are bad. You've been messing around for 18 movies, So I would love to see them challenged by another super team.
Thank you, and I appreciate the Hoosiers. Dennis Hopper, Gene Hackman, fine film. Coy, what do you got?
I've got the villain we've all been waiting for. I got the villain that we can now actually finally have, thanks to a certain monopoly being formed. I've got the villain that is the king of Latveria. I have the villain that is Destiny, and that is Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom has never been done justice fully, just like the Fantastic Four haven't. And you know what we just got? What's the next highest grossing movie besides the Avengers movies? Black frickin' Panther is the perfect way to bring in this character. We've actually had a movie that leaned into political intrigue, that leaned into what it means to be a king, that leaned into what it's like to have this thing that you're responsible of while being a superhero. I want to see Black Panther have to deal with the other side. Black Panther is about ruling a land. Doctor Doom rules a land with an iron fist. I want to see a movie where all the battles aren't just done with fists. I want to see a movie where battles are done with fists and with the pen. I want to see a movie where it's dealing with diplomatic immunity just being revoked. I want to see a movie where you're talking about county lines and country lines and all the things the Avengers would actually have to deal with. Some of the best stuff in Civil War was basically the Superhuman Registration Act from the comics is about what it means to be a hero. You could tie that back into Doctor Doom with this man as a leader of his own sovereign nation. Why does he have the right to fight these Avengers and vice versa? Well, something happens in Latveria, the Avengers go to swoop in, but they do it illegally, so now he's actually in the right. So we have someone as intelligent as Doctor Doom, someone that needs to be introduced through Black Panther, someone that we've waited years and years for, that isn't just going to be space holes, that isn't just going to be another fight. I want to see an intellectual take. My Doctor Doom would effectively be Killmonger meets Netflix's Kingpin. I want to see a leader that loves his country just like Kingpin did, but has all the intelligence that can lead a group just like Killmonger. You put that together, you give me Doctor Doom, you do Doctor Doom right, he is more than a worthy foil with the Avengers, and we've never gotten to before. Phone drop. It's like a mic drop.
Right on. Oh. I love how different these three answers are. This is great stuff. Fight it out.
All right, look, man. I have been known to be too snarky and mean in these fights. Okay, I didn't want to call your movie a civics lesson dressed as a superhero movie because I don't want you to call mine just a big punch up because I do believe it could be seen that way. My idea could be seen as they're gonna fight other superheroes, but it's also a battle for the hearts and minds. Because we have seen these Marvel heroes with all their flaws and all their all their dirty laundries on the table, their dirty armor, as it were. Everybody knows who these guys, half of their identities and stuff. We've seen them mess up. We've seen them almost kill us before. And we've seen the Sokovia Accords, they're dropping buildings on people, all this jazz. So I believe that a new group of superheroes, more like, frankly, some of the, I won't say DC, more like other simpler superhero universes, come down, they're perfect, they're super powerful, they're doing a great job, cleaning up messes that maybe they made. And everybody's looking at the Avengers like, you guys suck. All you do is fight and beat each other up and go off world. We don't even know what you're doing. We have no real connection with you. And 5 years has passed too.
So connection's actually a good point, because you know what happened last time we introduced an entire team without presenting them in other movies? The Justice League happened. I don't want to see a team of superheroes I've never met. I want individual movies to lead up to them. If we're meeting this team without any complexity for them, any interest in the characters, you can't introduce the entire Squadron Supreme and a bunch of Avengers in one movie and be invested at all. That's why you go with a solo. And in the first phase, some of the problems the Avengers had was Iron Man fought Ironmonger. Then he fought Whiplash. Oh, that's him fighting himself. Ant-Man fought the Yellow Jacket. I don't want to see superheroes fighting other versions of themselves, and that's what it could easily derail into. So for me, Squadron Supreme doesn't allow you to world build, doesn't allow you to invest in the characters, and you're superheroes fighting superheroes. And for me, I freaking love Scarlet Witch. I love that character. I love M of House. That's something we talked about in Marvel Movie News for years. M of House, I think, is a great way to introduce. I call it M of House because you're activating the mutants. M of House.
Ah, interesting.
Right?
All
So
right.
M of House is how you introduce the mutants, but I think that's a way to introduce the mutants, and if you make that a negative, then you're inherently putting the mutants, and we've had enough bad X-Men movies. You don't want to introduce the X-Men through a villainy plot point because you have to earn Avengers versus X-Men. So for me, using Scarlet Witch as a ploy would lead to that hysterical woman problem that we both want to avoid, and Scarlet Witch has gone through so much without us investing in her. If she'd already had 3 movies, maybe villain. But if you already give her first movie maker a villain, that'll fall apart. Her TV show sounds like it's going to be the Vision comics, which are brilliant. Tom King wrote the hell out of it. That's a nuanced take on Scarlet Witch. That's a long form thing. If you have Scarlet Witch be the villain, you eradicate all of the slow burn we've gotten with her so far.
Man, you guys both make fantastic arguments, and I want to see all of these movies. Like, it's hard to talk back against any of this. I will say, Doctor Doom immediately makes me think of Doombots. That's going to be the major thing that they use. That's going to be the crutch that Marvel's going to fall on. Doctor Doom's going to have obviously some great scenes and like some great monologuing, because that's what he does. But I feel like Doctor Doom is so uniquely suited to the Fantastic Four that I feel like he needs to be a Fantastic Four villain that then branches out to be a problem for the Avengers before he's an actual Avengers problem. And again, I don't want to see Doombots. I don't want to see them fighting any more faceless armies, and I feel like that's what you and I have going on over here. It is hard to fight against the Squadron Supreme, except to say that if you really want to have the problem of them coming in and saving the day, what you should, in my opinion, should do is have the Masters of Evil form their team, the Thunderbolts, and have them start framing the Avengers for all of the stuff that they're not doing, but they're they create fights and all this other stuff, and then they come in and save the day, make the Avengers look like fools, and then they get the world on their side as the Thunderbolts, and then it's revealed, the classic twist of Thunderbolts #1. Oh my God, it's Citizen B.
Oh yeah, but I think it's sort of a combination of those ideas. But the one thing you and I do have going on is the fact that, look, man, I think it would take just as much time to introduce a bunch of fairly simplistic mask-esque superheroes and to show how they've impacted the Earth and show how the Avengers are kind of jealous of them or whatever. I think you could show that fairly easily. Showing me this dude with all of his history without really maybe Reed Richards is at the core. I understand it's really slick move putting him with T'Challa. I love that, and I wish they had the bravery to do that. But I don't think that they do. I think what's actually going to happen is they'll figure out a way to encompass mutants and Fantastic Four, bring them from a weird alt timeline, some weird stuff like that, as they're kind of these hokey heroes in this new age, and it's going to be really cool. And they're going to have their own sort of hokey Batman with a, Batman can do anything with prep time. So can Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom got a spell for your ass. He got an equation for your ass. He got some armor for your ass.
He got that techno magic.
Yeah,
yep.
He's got the monarchy for your ass. He's got the Doom bots. So I understand that, but I just think it would take, respectfully, I think it would take as much movie to set up him by himself as it would my entire team. So I just want to take that off the board.
But I feel like that's a benefit of Doctor Doom, right? Is you want that. Thanos took, 7 movies? We earned it. We built up to it. But if you introduce 5 members of a team or 7 or 9, however many you get, that's going to be really overwhelming for an audience of these are these guys in a post-credit scene. You'll learn them later. Whereas if you tease Doctor Doom, it's a one individual to focus your attention on. I think you can slow burn one more than you can slow burn a team.
But you're also introducing a country. You're introducing way more. I'm introducing a team. You're introducing a country.
Well, I would just
and that's a lot of guys.
Matt, go ahead and make your point and then roll it right into your final thoughts.
Well, I'll just do my final thoughts. It's fine. What I want to say about mine is that I feel like it takes a lot of setup for this. I think that's a good point. It takes a lot of setup for this. For this one, it is Scarlet Witch. We know her. We are immediately in. We have never had her powers clearly defined. Here's an example for a chance for Marvel to define her powers, to see her come to her powers. Maybe she and Doctor Strange are talking. He helps her unlock something. I don't know, but we get that moment of, oh, we know her. We immediately know her. Wait, what's wrong with her? Wait, what is she doing? Wait, she can do what else? Oh shit, she could have done this the whole time. Oh my God, what? And then you get that switch. And we don't necessarily need to see Cyclops and Wolverine and all this other stuff. And in fact, if they wanted, they could just be like, hey, by the way, all the X-Men actors, you're over here now, and we're just gonna introduce you, or we'll erase whatever. But the X-Men are known entities. We know who the X-Men are. We know who the Fantastic Four are, more or less. And then it would be interesting to see this alternate reality switch over where you have you have Peter Parker as a celebrity now, like he was in House of M. You have Carol Danvers as the princess of the Earth, and everyone's like, oh man, there goes Carol, But then you also have the Avengers having to deal with all these very strange new mutant powers. They're already in place. S.H.I.E.L.D. is in place, whatever else. But then there's those 2 Avengers. That one Avenger who knows that this isn't right. And I don't know who that is. I'm not the writer, but they're the ones like Wolverine and House of M. They have to go get the other Avengers on board. That's the end of that first movie is, okay, so we're not in the right reality and one of our own is the problem. Oh my God, what do we do? Then you go get a second movie. Because again, the question is who's the big bad for the MCU? Mm-hmm. It's not just a movie. It's not just Ultron. So this gives us a couple movies to fully introduce this new idea, and then X-Men are now in the universe. We've established them as the universe, and you are right. There is a problem with it being taken from a negative, but I feel like that could be built over. Yes, they're a negative in this universe, but they come to see their value. All this other stuff, they prove themselves. They eventually start fighting along with the Avengers in a lot of different ways, and then keep mutants, and it's all back to normal. And she disappears to Latveria, and
I'm glad Dr. Doom's there.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. Ed, final thoughts.
All right, like I said, I don't come to these prepared to lose, but I do understand that it's hard for people to metabolize how you could introduce a whole team. But again, taking someone else's villain is very much a thing that works very well in comics. When Frank Miller decided to take Kingpin from Spider-Man, who had graduated above street level crime, and give him to Daredevil, who was more appropriate for him, it was a beautiful thing, and it launched a whole movement of comics. And I think we could do a similar thing with taking heroes who have traditionally fought one guy or faceless monsters and put them up against people who represent exactly what they are on the opposite side. Much like distinguished competitions, things when the Justice League goes and they see the League of Injustice, the jerks from the Earth 2, who are basically Batman's Owlman and Superman's Ultraman, and they're just these jerks, and wow, that's how it'd be with no upbringing. You know what I mean? That's how, and maybe even the rules in that other world work work differently to where evil behavior works in that world, and they're actually the good guys, but they're bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's all sorts of ways you can go and look at the fallout of the previous Avengers movies and what they have wrought on other worlds. I just think that's really cool. So like I said, I understand if it's not like everybody's cup of tea, but I just must say, I have to say, Doctor Doom is a Fantastic Four villain, and I would love to see maybe Black Panther goes down to the vibranium mines, and some weird craft came straight out of a patch of vibranium. Like, what the hell? Sorry, son, we had to use your vibranium to get here from the negative zone. I'm Reed Richards. What? And then Doctor Doom is somehow being like, hey, those are my prisoners. It's like, wait, this is my country. And all of a sudden it's like, no, I hate these guys, and they used to have some weird adventure. I can totally dig that, but I think it's its own thing, and I think one thing that we should gather from all these arguments is that the Marvel Universe, I think, is ready to go in a different direction. I don't know if it's hysterical Phoenix Woman direction. I don't know, and I don't know if it's take Doom and give him to Black Panther direction. But I think we can see a beautiful future of Fantastic Four and Black Panther versus Doom, and that's a movie. You know, things of this nature. And I would love for this to be the start of it, where it's just a one-off movie where they fight some super dudes, and it's like 3 hours long, but it kicks butt. I'd love that.
Thank you, Ed.
So we've said the MCU big bad. I've mentioned Doctor Doom, and I was saving my final argument what I think is the way to do it. You introduce Doctor Doom through Wakanda, so through Black Panther, because that's a familiar force. You know Black Panther, you know that world, so you meet Latveria, you meet Wakanda. I mean, you meet Doctor Doom through Wakanda, but you introduce the Fantastic Four through a Doctor Doom movie. Noah Hawley's been developing a Doctor Doom movie for a very long time. I think the Fantastic Four, because Marvel needs to go in a new direction, should be introduced through their antagonist. We meet Doctor Doom through Black Panther, so we already like that universe, and then that translates into bringing the Fantastic Four in. The Avengers don't necessarily even need to be involved. We've had a lot of Avengers movies. We can have pieces of it, but I say Doctor Doom is the slow burn. He's a post-credit. He's a post-credit scene in one of the future movies. Then he's a full character in Black Panther, which leads us to a antagonist as Fantastic Four. Long ago, Sinister Six was being written with Spider-Man as the antagonist by Drew Goddard, and I thought it was the best idea. That's the way to do it. You bring the Fantastic Four by bringing in a single character. That way you can introduce them properly. You find out they're the good guys. It's very similar to what you're saying, is like, oh wait, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy here? Marvel has grown up to be intellectual. We want there to be plot, we want there to be smarts, we want there to be intellectualism. We want to have that Civil War flavor of the Accords. We want to evolve on that. We want to evolve in what power is. Great power and great responsibility is the Doctor Doom story, especially with Reed Richards. For me, House of M is a miniseries. For me, you need a lot of story, and if you're doing multiple movies, that can work, but the plot structure would be so difficult to have, like, X-Men are introduced, Scarlet Witch is over here, she's the bad guy, she's the good guy, she's the bad guy over movies, whereas on a show, which Disney Plus is doing, House of M can live beautifully, and that's how I'd love the X-Men introduced. And to be honest, I've seen Squadron Supreme type things, and The Boys is going to be doing that. The Marvel movies have had them fight opposite versions themselves. I don't think Marvel lives there, so I think the most MCU thing that evolves the MCU without betraying the MCU is introducing Doctor Doom as a slow burn and getting us to Fantastic Four with John Krasinski as Reed Richards and Emily Blunt as Sue Storm.
Time. There we go. There is round two. Dan Murrell, please take us to the fact zone and then give us your thoughts on this.
Our contestants are taking us to the fact zone.
Yes, indeed.
There's not really much I can add, except Matt just really teed me up. House of M ran from June to November of 2005, written by Brian Michael Bendis. That's all I have factually. Everything else is pretty much on point.
Right on.
As far as my opinion, again, it's the passionate fights are the hard ones, and everyone was solid on the facts. So I have to go just off of how things hit me, and the ones that I feel like I was on board with the idea of Scarlet Witch at the beginning, and this idea of her, you know, what has happened to her so far sort of escalating into some kind of crisis. But I think the further on that we got and the more it sort of ballooned from Scarlet Witch to the alternate realities to now we're here and then the X-Men, like I lost the ball a little bit. And I feel like a little bit the same with Ed, and I think people hit Ed as far as we've seen them against opposite characters, it's introducing a whole team. It just seemed like there was a lot to do there, and I thought that the biggest through line and the big picture, even though it seems like the more obvious answer, for me was Doctor Doom in the sense of, you know, Coy very smartly saved a little bit for the end there as far as how it's going to be introduced and why and how it would fit in interlocking to what we already have and adding new things. I just felt like that was the most cohesive for me So my vote goes to Coy.
One for Coy. Lon, what do you got?
Yeah, I largely agree. I was really on board with Ed. I love the idea of like an alt-reality superhero team that has to clash with the Avengers, but then I think by the end, they sort of already talked him into like, yeah, this is really just one awesome movie, and I don't know if this would work as like a big bad for all of them. And the question's really, who's the MCU big bad, not who would be cool to see the Avengers fight. So it came down to Matt versus Coy. And yeah, I agree with Dan. I thought, I haven't read House of M, and the further we went in the description, I just started getting kind of confused. Like, so it's an alternate reality, there's a different Earth, but all the Avengers are there, and like the audience wouldn't know at first that it's an alternate reality. I wasn't sure how this would work in a huge shared universe with all these individual movies. So Coy's, I thought, did the best job of like, here's how it would fit in. It would work in sort of the background at first, and then we'd build. And despite the thing about, you know, the argument of Doombots, I think it'd be cool to see them fight Doombots. That doesn't sound I'm going with Coy.
Once.
Right on. Coy JANDREAU, you are on the board. It is one for Coy, one for Matt. Ed,
I'm going for a Doombot or two.
looking to get in there.
It's a serious fight.
Yeah, it's a Doombot.
Like all your
Ultron
points, I
bots.
was like,
It's a
I was
totally
typing
different
up
bot.
like a massive
All right.
one, and so we
So-
knew like Squadron Supreme. I was like, oh
fellas,
no.
we head to question number 3, and it is again Coy 1, Matt 1, Ed looking to get on the board and tie this bad boy up. And let's keep our opening argument, just so we can have time for a little bit more back and forth opening arguments, just a tad shorter, and we'll jump right into it. So question 3, we know Sam is becoming the new Captain America. We ask, who should take Tony's place as the new Iron Man? And this can be an established or not as of yet established character from the MCU. And it's question number 3. Start with player number 3, Mr. Ed GREER.
Okay, now look, I hate to be this guy who's all like about well, actually the question is, but the question is, we know Sam is becoming the new Captain America. Who should take Tony's place as the new Iron Man? Not the new big brain of the Marvel Universe, not the new time machine technician. No, the new person who's flying around with jets, going like this, going like this,
Yes.
going like this, and that's Rhodey. That's Rhodey, and he's earned it. And also, one of the main things about RDJ as a wonderful actor and the person who kept this whole series together is the fact that he is an actor, and he can put some top spin on a line. Don Cheadle is arguably probably the second or third best actor in this whole enterprise. And yes, he's been shunted off to a guy who wears a weird gray suit with a Gatling gun on his shoulder. But over the course of these movies, he's become more than that. When he went to help Nebula with the Power Stone, he's been introduced to a larger cosmic consciousness. He's met Carol Danvers with the military connection that they have, and maybe another type.
They got some other connections.
Yeah, you know. And I just believe he is a guy who we can put in these situations, and we can explore the capabilities of a pilot, a real G pilot in that armor. And they can go a different route than him just being so smart and just flying up to stuff and going, oh, well, I'm going to use my nanogel to do this time slip meridian. No, he's just a pilot, simple maverick in that suit. Let's get nuts. You know, and I think they'll be able to do some really interesting things with the Iron Man character now that he isn't so burdened with being the big brain of the Marvel Universe, which is why I'd like a nice, simple, great actor in that suit from now on, and that's Rhodey.
All right, let's get nuts with Rhodey. Thank you, Ed. Coy.
This is my first ever contrarian answer on movie fights. Okay. I wanted to go a little bold, and it actually ties into my last answer, and that is, there should be no next Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr. started this franchise. Robert Downey Jr. is the one that began this universe. Robert Downey Jr. ends his arc not just by dying, but also by, I am Iron Man. To me, the next Iron Man should be Reed Richards. To me, it should be someone not taking up the mantle. If everyone hands off the mantle, if Sam gets the Cap shield and War Machine becomes Iron Man and we get Valkyrie as Thor, then to me it takes away from Falcon as Cap, and it takes away from Valkyrie as Thor, because then it's just, oh, we've got a new trilogy. These characters are all just passed on the torch. They're seconds. I want a new type of character that is the type that Iron Man, he takes the leadership role. He takes the role of someone that is doing the science. He takes the role of someone that is snarky but smarter than everyone. He takes the role of someone that has a lot of burden. He takes the role of someone that actually, Iron Man works because he goes from genius billionaire playboy philanthropist to someone that is overburdened by the things he's seen. Reed Richards is the smartest guy on the planet that broke his friend's face, his enemy friend's face, and ruined his family's life. When you meet Reed Richards, depending on how they do the origin story, he has the burden of Iron Man 1 through 3 built in, but if you cast him right, that is a leader. That is a man we need. That is the science. Plus, it leans into the science. I want someone that continues on this message of kids being smart as a positive. Kids, when you are smart, you are a better person. Reed Richards embodies that. It is Marvel's first family. He is the leader of Marvel's first family. He can be the leader of the Avengers. I don't think we need another Iron Man. I think we need another leader.
Thank you, Coy. Matt.
I feel like my answer is kind of a combination of both of these in a lot of ways, because I'm saying Princess Shuri, T'Challa's sister. We met her in Black Panther, and then saw her a little bit more in Infinity War and Endgame. She has proven herself to be at least as intelligent or close to as intelligent as Robert Downey Jr., despite being at such a young age. She creates the technology, like she created the Black Panther suit that he's wearing that takes all the like potential energy, converts it to kinetic energy, or like the Gambit suit or whatever we want to call it. But like she created that. And though we have not seen her as a pilot yet, I think that a great way to introduce her as the new Iron Man is to have Rhodey teach her how to fly a suit. I think she builds her own suit, and then Rhodey helps her fly it. And once she's learned how to do that, you do have a new Iron Man who is not Iron Man. You have a great warrior. She's proven herself to be a great warrior, but you also have a great innovator. You have a hyper-intelligent person who can solve like scientific problems on the fly. And you have her with the entire resources of a nation behind her, so she's definitely a billionaire and definitely a philanthropist. So she already is, in a lot of ways, Robert Downey Jr.'s character, just in a whole other person and a whole other character. And she is basically the MCU equivalent to Riri Williams, who takes over for Iron Man in the current publication canon. So I really feel like she is the embodiment of all of those things. She's not necessarily Iron Man. She's not a leader, you're right, but she does lead a nation. She could learn how to do that. We just haven't seen her do that yet because she lives under the
continent.
She lives in the shadow of her brother, but I think that also gives her like the impetus to outgrow that, to grow beyond that. And she wants to be a warrior.
All right, fight it out, you guys.
Riri Williams doesn't work because Riri Williams is from the hood. Riri Williams overcame adversity by going to MIT on a scholarship because she saw everyone around her die. For me, Riri Williams' strength is the fact that she saw her father die, her best friend die, and then used that to her advantage. Whereas Shuri is coming from the opposite perspective. So if you Riri up Shuri, then you're negating the Riri side, and that's the beauty of Iron Man. So for me, Shuri is an amazing Black Panther. That's why she becomes Black Panther. She is the one that goes, hey, T'Challa, you're not the only one in this family. By the way, I can do it better than you. And that's how she becomes her own leader. If you make her Iron Man, you're negating a different Black Panther, and you're negating a better, different Iron Man. So you're negating two amazing storylines at once. I love the idea of Shuri being a part of the thing, but everyone in the comics knows and also we had Genki be Ned Leeds. That already messed up once. We can't combine characters that deserve their own thing.
To that point though, that was a great takedown. I'll let you do that. now, on yours though, I think we've got a similar situation with this whole Reed Richards jazz, because look, man, the respect that this Marvel universe is going to give Tony Stark is that it's going to take a consortium of minds to make up for what he was. So the cosmic awareness of Carol Danvers, basically a rocket being out there in space. You're only a genius on Earth, pal. You know what I mean? Yeah. The Hulk.
Great line.
The Hulk, given his new mental capacity. Sure. Pym, who's still alive and kicking. And Shuri and T'Challa. I think they will form like the Alpha Flight. They will form like the mind Illuminati that sees the galactic threats that may be coming for us. It prepares us and all this kind of jazz. You know what I mean? I think they're going to do that. And I think putting Reed Richards in there negates 22 movies, give or take, of us setting up these people who are going to carry the torch. And we're talking about carrying a torch. And this, I'm not going to give you, you just wandered out of the crowd, Reed Richards. I'm not going to give you the Olympic torch. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not going to give Shuri, I believe what Coy said was very good. You're taking away her ability to be the Black Panther in T'Challa's absence or in his disgrace, if that should be a storyline that comes. You're denying her that stuff and rereading her. But with Rhodey, you're doing simply what the comics did. When Tony got too drunk for a while, his homie said, dude, I'll hold you down. I won't even let people know you're all messed up like this. I'll even pretend to be you. A selfless act of being inside the Iron Man suit. So I believe Rhodey has earned the right to drive the damn car.
So we have an interesting, it's a very similar, we're coming from the same point. I think War Machine deserves to be War Machine, not be Iron Man. I love War Machine's character. We haven't gotten to see it. Don Cheadle is a very different man than Downey Jr. If
but
they
to
make
be
him,
fair, they're not going to call any other character Iron Man.
But that's why I didn't even go back. That's why my answer is Reed Richards. Like, there won't be another Iron Man. So for me, if Reed takes on the mantle of that leader, I think we should have less Avengers stuff for a while. I think we should lead in a new direction, lean into this new characters we get to play with, do more individualized movies, and have the Iron Man stand-in be a totally different character that's not leading Avengers. So you get to keep your Illuminati, you get to finally get a War Machine movie, which I think we deserve, but it's not going to be in the way that Iron Man was an Iron Man movie. I think War Machine should be about having a disabled character actually be disabled. I think the War Machine movie should be about being the Maverick pilot, but that isn't an Iron Man character, that's a War Machine character. Mine is all of the Iron Man things without sacrificing the beauty of
Iron Man's original adventures are straight up War Machine adventures. The first Iron Man, half of it is like Iron Eagle, but he's inside the plane. You know what I mean? But his suit is the plane. You know what I mean? He's going on a non-sanctioned stuff. He's burning fools up. You know what I mean? Like, I think War Machine could do stuff like that, and I think they could take some cues from when Punisher got into the War Machine armor. The sort of like stripped down, I don't have all this cosmic jazz on my mind. I'm just like, yo, what's up with that injustice over there?
But again,
shoo!
But
You know what I
again,
mean? That sort of adventure
but then
is
again,
fantastic.
that's not an Iron Man movie.
Yeah,
that's a
that's
War Machine movie, and I'm on board. I'm absolutely on
Iron
board
Man's
for
dead.
a war.
Iron Man's dead,
I know,
guys.
I know.
He's
But
not coming
if-
back, so that's not
But
part of the argument. That's not
if the-
Jermaine or Tito.
But-
That's nobody.
But if the question is who should be the next Iron Man, you have to define who was Iron Man. Iron Man was a billionaire philanthropist, like a super duper hyper intelligent person who created their own technology and then defended the world using that technology, and that is Shuri.
And that is Reed Richards.
It is, but
Let's read the final thoughts. Ed.
And that's why they get to do their own stuff with their own crap. You are telling me that this person who has piloted this machine, this War Machine, for this whole time is somehow less qualified to be the Iron Man analog, let's say, because we've all picked apart the semantics of the question. They're not about to call Shuri Iron Man, Reed Richards, nor War Machine.
Fair.
But he might be the Iron Patriot. He might be all kind of jazz. So I just really believe that War Machine getting to again drive the car. You know what I mean? It's like if Bonnie from Knight Rider finally got to do, hey, Michael Knight's all laid up. You got to drive the car and have your own adventure and kiss a boy. Oh yay! You know what I mean? I love that aspect of it. Of like, and again, a person who isn't burdened by all this cosmic stuff, who's just like, I'm flying this suit and I'm doing earthly business with it. I think a War Machine movie, at him being the analog for Iron Man, the better one than you guys is. You know, I think that movie could really work and be, you guys are saying that it should be less Avengers. This stripped down, not so cosmically aware of everything, not so weight of the world, just like I'll go solve this injustice. I'll be Kanan Kung Fu with a set of armor. You know what I mean? I'll deal with my disability in my van while I'm, you know what I mean? Like all this jazz. I love that aspect, and thank you for giving that to me. Because that's going to add some pathos to what would normally just be a revenge commando with armor on sort of movie. I think he's just, Rhodey, man. He even got to be Iron Man in the Secret Wars. Rhodey.
Ed, I thank you. Coy.
I love the idea of that movie, but we've had it. Iron Man 1 was him taking care of things in other parts of the country and other countries. Iron Man 2 was him being taken, like he was demon in the bottle. He was not able to control himself. He was going through his own stuff. That wasn't cosmic. He was dealing with all that stuff. So for me, we've already had that Iron Man movie, and I would love to see a War Machine movie that was the Top Gun Maverick situation, but that could be a great Carol Danvers War Machine situation. Like, it doesn't land for me as anything we haven't already seen before unless they go a different direction. So for me, that isn't the Iron Man of the future. I love love Shuri, but I think that the Riri Shuri thing is a dangerous thing because you, like I said, negating two characters, and I think Shuri needs to grow into the Black Panther and needs to lean into her ancestry and her history, and like I want to see more of that realm, and I want to see more of like, you know, the undead. I want to see her ancestry tied in. I don't necessarily want to see her as an Iron Man type because that brings her over to us, and I want to see the world grow. With mine, the world grows, and we keep going intergalactic. We go out and out and out as much as we want to, but it doesn't sacrifice what Iron Man represents to the team, what he represents to the MCU, and what he represents to me.
Thank you, Coy. Matt?
I love the idea of Rhodey, but I love the idea of a War Machine movie. I don't know that he could, like, I mean, it's hard to say someone's going to take the place of Iron Man because Iron Man was so many different things, but I feel like we've already seen a lot of the stuff that you're talking about in regards to War Machine. I think we would see it from a different perspective, and I think that's wonderful. But I don't know that makes him the next Iron Man per the semantics or the rhetoric of the question. Same for you. Like, Reed is a big brain, absolutely. He's a giant brain, and he's a fantastic brain, and he's one of the best brains in the MCU. And yes, like, the MCU is going to go in a new direction. But the question wasn't, where's MCU going to go and who's their next big brain going to be? It was, who's the next Iron Man? So you have to define who Iron Man is. Iron Man is hyper-intelligent, philanthropist, billionaire, whatever else, but also innovative technologist who creates their own suit and then goes out and fights injustice, and that is Shuri. You don't have to take the Black Panther stuff away from her. She's still a warrior. She can build a flying Black Panther suit, which is even cooler than her brother's Black Panther suit. She can be like flying Black Panther. We're not going to call her probably Ironheart. And you're right, she isn't Riri Williams, but she also has had her own share of adversity. And who's to say that she's not going to have adversity and grow out of that adversity when she takes on the mantle of Iron Woman or Iron Man or whoever, whatever they name her, or Black Panther who can fly. Like you can still give her that adversity without taking it away from Riri. So that's like, I feel like if you're going to say who's the next Iron Man, Riri Williams Shuri makes the most sense. Sorry.
Time. All right. Good stuff, you guys.
Flying Black Panther.
Dan, factually?
I mean, nothing.
I think that's my favorite part of the show.
Yeah. Once again, we've confirmed that these guys know their shit. All right, well, Lon, why don't you start us off, please?
Great arguments. I like all these characters. I like all of these scenarios. But I have to say, in terms of just the question that was asked, who would take over the mantle? Who would be the next Iron Man? Whether or not they're called Iron Man. I thought Ed really had the strongest answer for the question. Made the most sense in terms of here's why Rhodey is the character we've already established who would come in and pick up this mantle. I thought Matt and Koi's answers were great for like, how should we sort of consider what the smartest characters in the Marvel Universe are going to be doing from here on out. But I thought in terms of the question asked about Iron Man, I thought Ed really nailed it.
Get out of my brain, Lon, because I thought the same thing. Ed, you get the point.
No, yay.
All right, that means we are tied 1-1-1. This is a great moment in sports. We are going to the tiebreak. Tiebreaker.
Not on purpose, but
JTE, let's see that tiebreaker graphic.
Nope.
Oh man, I'm
Yeah,
so nervous.
that's what I'm talking about. JTE.
So mentally, like,
Gotta get a different body position.
All right,
Stretch it out.
here it is. So this works thusly, just like the speed round. So I will ask the question, shout out your answers, and then you'll have 20 seconds to elaborate in the order we heard the answers. Then we'll come back around for 10-second rebuttals, okay?
Okay.
Y'all
So
ready
this
for
is speed round?
It's,
Or
yeah, there's a
tiebreaker?
tie break that works just like the speed round.
Cool.
All right. Yes, Dan has a
So a
bell.
bell test over here.
Yeah, little bell test, testing,
for that
testing. Ding, ding. Here we go. Keeping it Marvel-centric. Now that Thor is possibly joining the Guardians, who should Valkyrie team up with for a new adventure?
Captain Marvel.
Okay, we have Captain Marvel.
Man, it is hard to beat Captain Marvel.
Beta Ray Bill.
Say that one more time.
Beta Ray Bill.
Beta Ray Bill.
Yep.
Great.
Korg.
Good stuff. So,
I just couldn't get past Korg. I was just like, Korg.
right on. The order we heard it was Ed, Koi, Matt. Ed, 20 seconds begin when you speak.
I think it's a very simple correlation between Valkyrie and Captain Marvel having an adventure. Yes, she's going to be the king of New Asgard, but also she's going to get that itch to go out to outer space. Who's the best consort / liaison / bodyguard from space is Captain Marvel. Them having world-bending adventures, meeting crazy space people, having first contact with different alien species, having grand adventures.
Time. Quay.
We've only touched on it so far. Iron Man 3 almost gave us a buddy cop movie. I want a real buddy cop movie, and that is going to be Valkyrie and Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill can fill you in on all the stuff Thor Legacy, all of the history of Thor, all of the back in the day stuff with all the hammers. We can actually explore the Thor mythos beyond just Thor, and we can go cosmic, and we can go out of this world. I want to see more Pegasus stuff. I want to see more Ragnarok stuff. I want to grow that world, and Beta Ray Bill has been a want for the entire MCU. He's the answer. He's the way to do it, and it's a completely new genre for Marvel, and I'd love to see them two team up.
All right, Matt.
I think that we can do some fun with her being the new king of New Asgard, or the new queen, and Korg has some issues back home that he needs to get home to, and they have to leave together, and we get that awesome buddy cop movie that you're talking about, because he is such a weird character, and she doesn't understand his ways, and he doesn't understand hers, and she is noble, and he's just like, oh, hey man, what's going on? And we get a lot of comedy out of that.
10-second rebuttals. Ed.
The two most brazen women in the Marvel Universe are knocking around Guardians of the Galaxy style through the galaxy, drinking giant flagons of mead, punching holes in worlds. Sign me up for that. That's a buddy cop movie.
I'm glad we agree on Buddy Cop. I'd see your movie when it was A-Force. I think that's more likely to happen. And your movie's just those Daryl skits we've already had on YouTube. Either of these can exist, but only one of these is the Buddy Cop movie we deserve, and that's Beta Ray Bill. Where else is Beta Ray Bill going to come in? It is the time, it is the place, it is right now, Beta Ray Bill and her.
I don't want to rebuttal because I like both of your answers so much. I want to see both of those movies way more than I want to see a Korg movie. So that's my rebuttal.
All right, there you go.
Fighting Noob Master.
Dan, what do you got?
I mean,
Matt kind of took himself out of the running.
I wasn't leaning that way, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't leaning that way. I was like,
I wasn't leaning. I was
like
leaning
he said
toward
Captain
you.
Marvel. I was like, no, that's what I want too.
I was leaning toward you as one of my two votes, if
Oh.
I'm being honest. But you resigned, and I can't.
I think all three of us are in agreement.
Yeah.
But Matt, thank you for playing with your heart. And
Hey, I want to see both of those movies way more than I want to see.
You know what? I want to see all three of those movies. But right now, I'm going to see Ed and Coy in the speed round. Welcome to the speed round, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, here we go.
Korg move, though. No, you guys
All right, so
No problem.
Oh, you guys have a good time now. Yeah.
Puts on headphones.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go play some Fortnite. All right, you guys have a good time. New Masters, come on, man.
Nice, soft-spoken New Zealand accents, you guys. All right, here we go. So the speed round. So it is 1-1. That did not count for a point. Matt, thank you for just fighting valiantly and intelligently the entire time. Good stuff.
Happy to do it.
Here we are. We're tied 1-1. Ed and Coy. It works the same as the tiebreak we just did. I'll ask the question, shout out your answers, then 20-second, then 10-second rebuttals.
Got it.
Let's do this. Infinity War or Endgame?
Oh, that's the question.
Yeah, what's better? What do you like better? What's better?
Endgame.
All right, Ed, you got Infinity War by default. Coy, 20 seconds to begin when you speak.
Endgame isn't just a movie, it's a reinvention of the sequel. Only Endgame could do what it did because it's the lead up of 21 other films. It is a 22 movie series. It uses time travel, it uses all the things that Marvel does well. It does face mapping technology plus CGI. It couldn't exist unless you invested in each and every character, each and every location. The Howard Stark and Tony scene alone is worth the price of admission, plus all the action stuff, plus all the fan service, plus all the world building. It literally redefines what it means to be a series, and that movie is set up beautifully.
All right, Ed.
Infinity War introduces you to a villain where you're low-key glad he won. And that is a feat, period. All of the action, all of the payoffs from 22 years, without getting too... my grandma watched that movie and understood every piece of it. You can't say that about Endgame. It is perfect in the same way that something like Empire Strikes Back is.
I like the density of it. I like that it's dense. I like it's hard to understand. But you get the Winter Soldier payoffs. You get the Avengers payoffs. You get all those things. I love the villain. We've had good villains before. We've never had a movie that actually ties in 21 other films because it's not possible. Plus using all the technology that's only available today.
We've literally never had a villain even close to Thanos, and that is the universal, basically, consensus, besides perhaps Killmonger. Thanos had his own story, and we almost ended up rooting for him at the end.
Time. Ooh, boy. You know what? I was fully on board with Coy, but then just Ed's just low-key confidence and the way he sold. I don't know. I think you just hypnotized me, Ed. I gotta go Infinity War with Ed. Lon.
Yeah, I actually agree. I was with Coy for most of the time, but I thought Coy ultimately was just like, it's not possible to sort of tie all these movies together, and that is true, but it's also kind of both Infinity War and Endgame are kind of tying everything together. And I thought Ed's point about Thanos being this sort of, different landmark villain was really good. So yeah, I'm going Ed as well.
All right, Ed, you take a 2-1 lead going into question number 2, the speed round. Here it is. Who will be missed more from the regular MCU lineup, Iron Man or Captain America?
Captain America.
Okay, we got Cap from Ed. We got Iron Man for Coy. Ed, 20 seconds begin when you speak.
Iron Man is great, but RDJ is such a beautiful, brilliant actor that we always knew that at some point we were going to lose him to greater endeavors, whereas Captain America basically made a star. We grew up in our love of Chris Evans by watching this character. He grew before our eyes from a noob master to a straight-up captain. So I just think that we're going to miss that overall arc more even than Tony's sacrifice.
It wasn't about which is a better actor, it was about which character we're going to miss the most. And for me, you brought in Iron Man into a Captain America movie because of how much we need Iron Man to balance out Cap. I think Iron Man is his own entity. The Cap movies might be better, but Iron Man himself is the most. He's actually better than the character of the comics. He made the character better. Can't say that necessarily about Cap. Iron Man lives and breathes Downey Jr., and without him, there's a very different MCU going forward, no matter what, no matter how you shape it. And through all of the movies, the through line has been Iron Man.
Chris Evans's portrayal of Captain America is in the same way superior to the comic books Captain America. I never dug Captain America till I could look into the steely blue eyes and round rump of Chris Evans.
The arc of Downey Jr.'s Iron Man is so dense because it was about fathers and sons, it was about overcoming adversity, it was about doing all those things, and that represents what the Marvel Universe represents. It's not just a piece of it, it's the entirety of it. It's about being an adult, and that is what we get these movies out of.
Time. All right, Dan.
America's ass got in there, though.
It's difficult for me. I think I liked Ed's opening, but I feel like Coy won me over eventually by talking about how Iron Man represented not just a strong character, but a huge piece of the storytelling. That resonated with me a little bit more, so I'm going to go with Coy.
Okay, that's one for Coy. Lon.
Yeah, I agree. If the question was who gives the better performance throughout the MCU, I think Ed would have probably won. But I think if we're talking about just who's going to be missed more, I think Coy really sold me on the crucialness of Tony Stark. So I'm going Coy.
All right, Coy, you just tied it up.
The fight against Boston's own Chris Evans, that hurt me.
Yes. Yeah, you took down America's ass. Okay, here we go. Question number 3. The speed round. We were all tied up again. Slugfest here. Which Endgame daddy is more thick? Which Endgame zaddy is more thick?
Yeah, two choices.
Thor or Thanos?
Thor. Yeah, Thor.
All right, Thanos.
That's a Joe Star question.
I wrote this one. How dare you? How dare you?
That had Joe Star written all over it.
It's true. I'm
And just
ripping on the
for
side.
clarification, thick is spelled THICC.
Two C's. Okay. I didn't
Everybody.
remember C's.
It's important for the question.
Okay, so again, you said Thor?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We got Thor, we got thick Thor and thick Thanos. Ed, 20 seconds to begin when you speak.
Thick with 2 C's in the internet /street /whatever vernacular does mean sexy as well as big. So you can't argue that Chris Hemsworth gone to seed is still sexier than a nutsack chin monster who wanted to kill everyone. Okay, so yes, thick Thor is thicker, more sexy, thick, fat, whatever you want to call it, and a good guy.
Okay.
There are hundreds of memes about how thick Thanos is. There are not that many about Thor because thick also implies a mental sexiness. You know who's got his stuff together? Thanos. He has compassion. He's going for one specific thing. He's trying to save everyone, like you just argued, and he's muscular underneath all that. He keeps it all together. He is svelte and thick at the same time. He wears that armor proudly. His thickness is more beautiful, even purple, and I think it's not fair to judge him by his face. His thickness is everything.
Face is part of it, bro. Ask anybody. Face is part of it, and I don't want nutsack chin monsters trying to mount me. So but Thor, he just nestle you.
You know Thanos smells better than thick Thor, and you know that's a big part of it. You also know that Lebowski is not going to get up and do very much, whereas thick Thanos is the most motivated guy in the universe. I'll take that thick any day, and we all know what he wants from Ant-Man, and that's another conversation.
Okay. I feel like Coy just got me with that rebuttal round right there. So I'm going Coy. Dan?
I enjoyed Coy's embrace of all the aspects of thickness. Not just appearance, but also motivation, drive, ability to have your life together. Yeah, the mind. I feel like there's an extra C in thick for a reason. And Coy gave me that extra C, so I gotta go with Coy.
I'm the third C.
All right.
Thick Coy.
Hey, you're all thick in my book. Okay. All right, so Coy takes a 3-2 lead, and here is question number 4 of the speed round. By the way, this is game point for Coy. You need this to keep her going, Mr. Ed. It's called Mr. Ed.
Horse.
Just came out, yeah.
Somebody's got a carrot making him talk.
All the kids watching this now are like, who's Mr. Ed? What are you talking about?
Google spikes.
Yeah, Google Mr. Ed. You will be pleasant.
First Google Nick at Night, and then Google Mr. Ed.
Do not Google Mr. Ed and Carrot.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Game point. Coy, which Marvel movie would you want to see characters revisit via time travel? Which MCU movie would you want to see? It says Marvel movie. Could be any more or MCU. I think we're leaning MCU.
Well, it's an MCU.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
keep it
MCU.
MCU.
Fine
Okay.
to the MCU.
Unless
Great.
really wants
Just want to clarify
Howard
there.
Duck.
Which MCU movie would you want to see characters revisit via time travel?
I'd say Blade if it was Marvel. I need an MCU one.
Yeah. Oh.
Should we make it Marvel?
Let's just make it Marvel.
Let's make it Marvel. Okay.
Marvel.
Blade.
I'm going to say The Incredible Hulk.
Incredible Hulk.
I'm going to say The Incredible Hulk.
Okay, we heard Blade first, Incredible Hulk second. Coy, 20 seconds begin when you speak.
The movie that started this genre should be revisited because it's out of genre. That movie was an action film that happened based on a Marvel character. That's a great way to bring more pathos, more distinguished, more elements to the Marvel universe. Plus, we need to bring in Blade. We need to bring in another character like that. We need to bring in that 90s flavor without it being a reference to that 90s flavor. Captain Marvel meets Blade, meets all of that universe, and it brings us back to the actual very beginning where it all really started. Plus, we need Wesley Snipes, and that's the best time Wesley Snipes.
So you're trying to make a whole movie. I think this is like a one-off gag, much like the ones in Endgame. And what I would love to see is after the Abomination had wiped Harlem's butt with Hulk's face for 3 hours, then S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up and puts some zip ties on him and throws him. Where are you going to store this guy? Where are you gonna, I want to see the scene after the scene. Where are you going to store this guy? He beat the Hulk up for 2 hours. Where are you going to store this guy?
If we're making it one scene, it's Blade walking out of the rave with all the blood. You see the Marvel universe land outside, and there's the and you see Blade just covered, and they're like, who is this guy? How is he part of our universe? I would take that in a second. That's a beautiful way to tie it all together and to show the range of the Marvel universe.
I want to see the Abomination wake up and smack the hell out of everybody and jump out of the helicopter and land in the ocean. And they're like, hey, now there's a new Godzilla in the Marvel universe, and we don't know where he's at, where he's going to show up. I love that.
Time. Okay. Lon?
I love the Abomination cleanup stuff, which makes it doesn't make a lot of sense in the original movie. But I have to say, I think overall, I think Coy had the better, clearer picture of what this would be like and how it would sort of fit in the universe. I'm going with Coy.
Dan?
See, I'm going with Ed for this reason, which is that canonically, if this were a comic book, you could bring Blade back as he is. But in our real world, we cannot bring 1998 Wesley Snipes back to today.
We brought Michael Douglas back from the 70s.
But I just mean, Wesley Snipes is wonderful and he should be in more things. But I don't know if we have 1998 Wesley Snipes with us still. I want to remember Blade as he was, and so I am going to go with Ed because it at least serves a function of answering a question, quite frankly, I didn't know I had until this moment. Now I need time travel travel to answer this question because it's very compelling.
All right, it's one for Coy, one for Ed. Yeah, I got to go with Lon's argument. But for Ed, I thought Ed fit it in a little bit more perfectly. It was so concise and precise, his vision for that. And so much so, it caused Coy to change the framework of his answer in the rebuttal round. So I got to go, Ed. We are all tied up. This is a great moment in sports. And this is the final question of, you know what, we've reached the end game right here. Let's do this. Whoever takes this wins. And you've all been fantastic, by the way. Sadder death on Vormir. Gamora or Black Widow?
Gamora, to me. Gamora.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Black Widow.
Okay. Ed, we heard you first with Gamora. Coy, you're coming up next with Black Widow.
What's truly sad about that final act is that Thanos, she found out in that moment that Thanos actually had loved something. The last thing you are cognizant of is the fact that your dad loved you and then you die. That, my friend, is sad. It's not a heroic sacrifice. It's you being duped by your own father's love.
Similarly, I love that we realized how much they both loved each other, and that was the beautiful setup. And it's way more sad to have lost everything to the point the last 5 years you've been slowly dying inside, so the last thing you can do is die. Suicide by a hero is the saddest possible thing, and two people trying to kill themselves for the other is tragic in its own right. She killed herself because of how much she loved Hawkeye, and in turn, how much Hawkeye loved her. Plus, it was the end of Black Widow, a character we've grown up with.
I'd argue that heroic sacrifice is not sad. It is the glory of the warrior, and it is what was given to Tony Stark when he sacrificed himself, and Black Widow got some semblance of that.
But it wasn't a samurai death like Tony Stark's was. It was literally leaping off a cliff to save her best friend, who she loved so dearly they had to fight over. It was much more sad to see a character we've lived with 8 years with than Gamora, who's had a very tricky plot point. Black Widow is us. She's all of us.
Ooh, man, this is a very difficult one. You know what? I feel like Ed had the great parry with the hero's death, and it set Coy on his heels a little bit, and we didn't hear enough to take down Gamora. So by a hair, I gotta go, Ed. Dan.
I think that it was a great opening salvo to talk about the tragic thing of learning your parent loves you right before you die, and I thought it was a great parry to mention that it was not necessarily, it was a warrior's death, a hero's death. I think that was a great response. I also have to go with Ed.
Ed, you just took the movie fights. Wow, what a journey. What a journey. Oh.
Is that 3 hours? Is that 3 hours and 2 minutes?
Yeah. We did the in-game of battles.
Yes.
And let me tell you something. Getting on TV was easier than winning this game.
That was a fight. That was serious.
Oh my God.
Oh, you all dug deep, and just the answers, the level of knowledge today, off
Matt
the
had to
charts.
Black Widow himself. He leapt off the cliff.
Yeah,
He was like,
that was a hero's death, Matt.
I sacrificed for our battle to live.
Yeah.
Yes.
We got
You're welcome.
from Matt.
You're welcome, guys. Remember that.
Stephen Strange.
Stone of speed rounds.
I was called Stephen Strange. I can go home safe.
Thank you for fascinating, entertaining fights today, you guys. Ed, please tell us where we can find you.
Well, you can check me out on Comedy Central. They've recently loaded up to the app, so people who don't have cable can watch me do stand-up on a show called The New Negroes.
I've seen Ed do stand-up. You are a funny gentleman. Very funny.
Thank you very much. My pinned tweet on Ed GREER Destroys on Twitter. You can check out my pinned tweet. It's a bit from the show. And please support and check out my podcast, Nerd Goat Podcast. We do deep dives with people like yourselves about who your favorite character is, who is your nerd greatest of all time. We've had everybody from James Bond to Dracula to whoever, and it's really a great, fun, celebratory podcast. We're not nitpicking. We're not tearing anything apart. We're celebrating these characters and the majesty that they encompass, and I'm really happy to be part of that culture.
Ed, well fought. Congrats on the victory. Great to have you, man. Matt Key, well fought as well.
Thank you.
And always great to have you in here. Please tell us some stuff.
My Twitter is @theMattKey. I've got I'm between gigs right now, but you can catch old episodes of my comic book show, The Wednesday Club, on the Geek and Sundry Twitch. Key questions up there still too. I'm onwards to the next best things.
Phase 4.
Phase 4.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Matt. Coy, oh boy, wow, took it to the limit, just like
today.
Sports Chalet. But
Three butt jokes and a sports chalet reference. This movie fights is legendary.
Oh, baby.
But yeah, great stuff, my man. Please, just say some stuff.
Hunt me down on Collider Heroes every week. We also brought back Comic Book Shopping, which is the show I watch the most on Collider, and now I'm honored to do it. We've had David Harbour on, Zach Levi on. We've got some really great guests coming up in June, especially. Some really cool people are coming in. And then also this week alone, we've had Jim Starlin, who invented Thanos, Brian Michael Bendis, one of my favorite writers of all time, and Deadpool's own Rob Liefeld. So a bunch of like the 80s, 90s, and today of comics. So that's all going to be on Collider. And then it's been a whirlwind. And also I am doing some stuff at Skybound, which is very much this world's alley. So that'll be announced really soon. And it's been an absolute pleasure. And this is my favorite place to nerd out, man. I love just like unleashing the having like mighty foes to vanquish with movie trivia is insane. Like I'm always so sweaty at the end. I'm so glad there's no like overhead because I'm always just wiping.
Yeah, you guys
wearing a jacket is not Dan for this.
you guys rose to the top like Cap, Thor, and Iron Man today. You guys were great. Dan, Murrell, Lon Harris, Merlon, the magical Merlon. Dan, what do you see taking? Is Endgame going to take it again this weekend?
Oh. Yeah, it's not. I mean, my apologies to the ugly dolls, but in
La Llorona.
Week 3 of La Llorona.
Week 3 La Llorona.
How do you think Longshot's going to do?
Long shot. Everything is going to do about $160 million less than Endgame. That's the truth.
There it is. Thank you, Dan. Lon Harris, thank you for
I
being
really
a
did
part
very
of
little this time.
I mean, you provided important opinions. I mean, you were doing the Lord's work. Tell us where we can find you.
Find me on Twitter at LONS. That's where I am. It's easy.
Bam. Lon Harris.
Quick and easy.
Yes. Follow Lon. Follow everybody here. And please follow me at Hal Rudnick on Twitter and Instagram, putting up a lot of just dumb stuff about movies and TV and comedy, etc. And I gotta say, hoot hoot, Owl Nation. Percival's in the house. He's doing A-okay. I want to thank everybody for watching. JT, can we see that owl picture one more time?
By request. There it is.
Yes! All right. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Bye-bye. Thanks, JT and Billy Biz.
Rap on the owl.